Yesterday we learned in this amazing speech of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who many consider him to be the Moshiach of our generation. I am among those people, that we have to reveal Moshiach. And that's our whole job. And the Rebbe gave this speech to the Shluchim, to his emissaries, to his representatives that came from all over the world, that gathered to New York to hear the Rebbe speak. And this, in fact, was the last speech that the Rebbe gave to these people. It was the last speech that he gave to these people. Because afterwards he had a stroke and he wasn't able to speak. And because of this speech, basically, so all of the emissaries of the Rebbe they all yelled out for one full year, long live the Rebbe, the King Moshiach, Yechia Adonenu Morinu Rabbeinu Melech Mashiach L'Lamod. Everyone said, long live the Rebbe Mashiach, for about a year and a half. Okay, in any case, so the Rebbe here is saying, and you can see why, powerful words. The Rebbe is saying that the whole purpose of this convention, the whole purpose of the Chabad, the whole purpose of the Jewish people, the whole purpose of the creation of the world is to reveal the essence of God. That all these details and the details of the details and every generation, detail of every Jew's life should be, and especially should be permeated with the main point of one goal, and that is revealing the Mashiach. Which Mashiach, that's the ultimate thing of being an emissary, being a representative, unifying what's called these two names of God, blessing, godliness, and the physical. Bringing God into the world. Ma is a Kabbalistic word for blessings that come from above, and Ban is a Kabbalistic word for this physical world. To unite them, that's the whole topic of this week's Torah portion. Eliezer, Abraham's servant, went to make a marriage between Rivka and Yitzchak. Yitzchak here is representing the blessing from above, and Rivka is representing the world that receives that blessing. And that's what Mashiach is going to do. Mashiach is going to be the ultimate emissary, just like Eliezer was, to make this happen, to make this wedding, to facilitate this marriage. Because and all this is especially in our generation. Asher knows of a chidush that in addition to this thing of being an emissary, that the previous Rebbe, the leader of our generation, he also appointed every single Jew, the doors of this generation, liot shalucho, to be his emissary. Ba'afatzat the Torah, to spread out the Torah and Judaism, afatzat the Mayanot, and to bring the true redemption. So here the Rebbe is sort of speaking in this one little sentence. The Rebbe is sort of doing the opposite of what you think any good speaker, especially the Lubavitcher Rebbe, speaking to these emissaries, would do. You would think that the Rebbe would say to these emissaries that there's a tremendous job to be done, and only you can do it. You are the only ones that can do it. So don't rely on anybody else. It's only you. So what's the Rebbe in fact saying? The Rebbe is saying everyone can do it, and everyone is appointed to do it. True, you can't rely on anybody else. You're also part of this everyone. But you should know that every single Jew has been appointed by the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, and the Rebbe is, of course, including himself, as a emissary. As we see, as a shliach. Like we said, now it's even easier. To explain to a Jew, even such a Jew, even to a Jew that had no connection to Judaism whatsoever, that in addition to your individual service of God, you have a responsibility that every single Jew has to be a shliach. Especially now you take this, the Rebbe was also saying this is right after the fall of the Iron Curtain. So you got all these thousands, tens of thousands of Jews in Russia that they don't even know that they're Jews, that their mother didn't know she was Jewish, her grandmother didn't know she was Jewish, the great-grandmother used to light candles. And his mother's grandmother told her that she once saw her mother light candles, and her grandfather used to have a beard. Here, look, this is a picture of him, right? So his mother knew from like 3 generations before that they're not Jewish, but their parents and their grandparents and their great-grandparents, they were Jewish, right? They were Jewish. There's people that say, listen, I'm not Jewish. My mother and father, they're not Jewish. But their mother and father, they were Jewish. It means that they're Jewish, right? And they didn't even know. So these people, they find out that they're Jewish. And then afterwards, not only do they say, okay, we'll do a couple of commandments, they say, oh, we'll take on all the commandments. Not only that, we'll open up a Chabad house. We'll go and spread to other people. That every person, even a person that knew nothing about Judaism, once that point of truth is aroused, because being a Jew is not something that you do, it's something that you are. God made you like God made a person. Now that a person can believe that he's a dog, he can believe that he's a giraffe, right? But like you said, that they'll put him into a mental institution for humans, not for dogs or giraffes, because he's a human. The same thing, a Jew is a Jew. It's unexplainable, just like it's unexplainable. How did I become a human being and not a giraffe? I don't know. God decided. Same thing. How did I become a Jew? A Jew has an essence inside of him that he of responsibility to the Creator and to the creation. And that's what it means to be a shliach. Every single Jew, once you wake this up, suddenly realizes, wow, that's who I am. Lashpia, to give over to others all of his good qualities, all of his knowledge, beginning first of all with the people in his house, then his friends, then his acquaintances. Call me anyone that you can have any influence on. This will add especially these people who merited especially the Rebbe said that they had the luck and the amazing fortitude. Is that the word? Fortune. Fortune is the wrong word. Fortune to be chosen to be one of the emissaries of the Rebbe. A call of Odesam and the whole service that they do, and eventually everybody's going to be doing this, but all they do from me'et late, from the morning minute they wake up until the minute they go to sleep, and even when they're asleep, and when they wake up the next morning, the whole entire 24 hours is totally given over to spreading out Torah and Judaism and the well springs of Judaism, and to bring the redemption. How much more so Shluchim, when the Shluchim, the Rebbe is now talking to all these representatives of his, right? When the Shluchim means the representative, Shluchim, we call Kitzvei Tevel from all the corners of the world, when they're all gathered together in the Kenes of Shluchim Ha'olamim, in the world convention of these representatives of the Shluchim. Asher Kinish L'Tzadikim, it says that when righteous people gather together, it's good for them and it's good for the world. So this brings Hana Emitit, true pleasure of holiness to them and to the world. The world is from the language of Helam, concealment, Hester, hiddenness, Ubafrad, and especially this is a Kenes Shluchim Olami. This is the emissaries of the convention, a convening of all of the Shluchim of the whole world, all the Shluchim which were found in all of the corners of the world, and their service is expressed. The bittul, the whole thing is what is their job? To do away with ignorance, concealment, obstacles of the world, and transform them until the world becomes a dwelling place for God. What does it mean, a dwelling place for God? That the world becomes healthy. The world becomes healthy. There's no more depression. There's no more anger. There's no more addictions. There's no more. The world can get along without those things. Really good. There's no more sicknesses, to the degree that there won't even be any more death. That's what it means, making a dwelling place for God. That everyone can realize their own potential for good and for blessing. Everyone has it. Every human being. Often in such a way that this is what's called uniting ma uban, these two Kabbalistic ideas of ma, blessing from above, and ban, and the world from below. And this is a preparation for the future redemption. Gufan, and this is especially relevant, the Kenes Shluchim, to this Shluchim convention, every year, and which we've already had for several years. But in his Vosav Chidush now, and this year especially, this year was 1992, and the connection with the Shluchim, like we said before, that Moses at the burning bush, that he called the Moshiach. He called the Moshiach. God said, he said, send the Moshiach. He called him an emissary, a shliach. The shlichus of the Moshiach Tzidkenu. This is especially this year, says the Rebbe. We said before that the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, that he's the leader of our generation, and the Rebbe said other places, the Moshiach of our generation. Everything has already been finished. All of the necessary work and preparations to bring Moshiach has finished. And we're already standing prepared. Like it says, Omdu kolchem kulam hachin kolchem. Everyone should stand prepared, everyone, to receive the face of the Mashiach Tzidkenu, to receive Mashiach. Now, what's that mean? When Mashiach comes, yes, it's going to be a person, that's right. But what does it mean? He's going to all of a sudden appear, on television and say, that's it, it's me. So any person could do that, right? Just put a crown on your head, grow a beard, right? Get a nice gown, say, here I am. Anybody can do it. In fact, there's a lot of people that do it. There's even a syndrome in Jerusalem called the Mashiach syndrome. People go to Jerusalem and all of a sudden they feel, why, I am the Messiah. I feel, here I am. What's the proof? Here I am. I'm alive, right? This is amazing. I feel so there's a syndrome. But how do you know who the Mashiach is? How are you supposed to know who the Mashiach is? So there's two things. First of all, like we said before, there's the Maimonides has the criterion. This has to be a person that knows the whole Torah, the oral Torah, the written Torah. He does all the commandments. He tries to bring all the Jews in the world to do all these commandments, to strengthen Judaism. He fights against anything that weakens Judaism, according to the Torah, to the Talmud, to the weakens Judaism. He fights against. He has to be from the tribe of King David. Then that's it. What disqualifies him? If he fails, or if he gets killed. And that's what Rambam says. If he fails, he gets killed. Okay. So the previous Rebbe was not killed, and he did not fail, and the Rebbe was not killed. So these people are Mashiach. Good. So it says, but one main thing of the Mashiach, that's what we can understand. But the other part of Mashiach, we cannot understand. How is one person going to change the whole world? Even when Moses came to Egypt and he said, I'm taking everybody out, no one understood that. You can't get out of Egypt. There was no way that they didn't have the mentality to go out of Egypt. Let's say the first generation, okay. But after a person he gets married in jail, and he gives birth to children that they live in jail. And these children, they get married to other 4 generations in jail. You don't think that there's anything outside of jail. That's it. All of a sudden, someone comes out and says, you're getting out. Where? Going out. What does it mean out? Out where? This is it. There's no out. Where do you go out? No, there's a world. You're going to go out. You're going to be free. There's God. What are you talking about? Right? And so the Jewish people, they believed somewhere down deep that it was going to happen when Moses took, but it was incomprehensible. Well, even more incomprehensible is going to be what Mashiach is going to do, but he's going to do it. Just like Moses did it, Moshiach is going to do. So one aspect of Moshiach is totally understandable. The other aspect is totally not understandable, right? That he's going to bring everybody into heaven, then you can understand. People die, they go to heaven, who knows? But that the Moshiach is going to make this world more holy and blessed and meaningful and happy and promising than even going to heaven, that's incomprehensible. That's what Chassidut is trying to tell us. So we have to be ready for something that essentially the only way you can prepare for is just be ready for a surprise. Just be ready for a tremendous surprise. But nevertheless, we can see also, we can see what's going on in the world. There are a lot of signs of the future redemption. Hechil, for instance, beginning like it says, Hegiya Zman Gulatchem. It says that the whole world is in confusion, and all of a sudden the Mashiach comes and says the time of redemption is. So the Rebbe is the Mashiach, and he's announcing the time of your redemption has come. It says the kings, they make war. This was in the time when there was this is after the Saddam Hussein from Iraq. He made a war against the whole world, right? He had these missiles and he made a war. He entered Kuwait like an idiot. He went into Kuwait. He wanted to destroy Israel. He went in the wrong direction. I don't know what he did. Anyway, so he made a war over there, and then he made a war with Saudi Arabia. Then everybody was against him, and he was against everybody, and he thought he was going to win. And all of a sudden, Israel just stood by, and they just sort of, watched. And he shot all these missiles into Israel, and they knocked down huge buildings and apartments of 5-10 stories with all the people in them, knocked them all down, and nobody was hurt. No one was hurt. Right? It was the most amazing thing. I was there, and it was 19. Was it 91? Was it 91? Anyway, so the Rebbe says, then the iron curtain fell. Right? We see all these amazing things happening, said the Rebbe. Ubafrada Medinas Aravim, especially by the countries where the Arabs are. Kolel Masharoba Yamim Elu. We see that he says Ve'ida Shalom, that they made a big peace meeting. Hey Modio Shem Muchanim Lavater Al Kol Inyanim Laman Shalom. That they met in the United Nations and they said they're going to stop making what you want a war. B'poel in the end, Nizbar Shalo Dubim V'lo Yar. There was no bears and there was no anyway. The whole thing was a big nothing, right? Everybody still wants to make war, and everybody. Ukavar Niskayim. It's already the sign last year. Tavshin Nun Aleph. It will be a year of miracles. I will be shown. That was the year that Iron Curtain fell and everything. And especially this year, that it's continued. Malchut, V'tochen, Haneshama, Shalashana. This was the main thing of the year, big miracles. Right, like I said, the Iron Curtain fell and Saddam Hussein fell and all the Jews were saved. But Roim B'Pol, we can see, we can see how the Moshiach is fighting the battles of God. And he can be victorious in many, many things. I'll just put it in a small innuendo. The main battle of the Rebbe is in Israel, and especially against the Israeli government. But it's done in a very, not in a confrontational way. And we can say perhaps that the biggest impediment for Jewish identity is Zionism. The attempt to detour Jewish identity from God to nationalism is, it inspired a lot of people that we wanted. So how did the Rebbe fight against this? Education. You have to educate Jews what your real, true Jewish identity is. It's the Torah. And when you learn Torah, something happens. And the commandments, when you do commandments, something happens. It arouses a person. So the Rebbe pointed out to the Israeli government time and time again how their attitude toward the world, that they want to be, like the world and liked by the world, that it's false and it just doesn't work. And that people don't like you. And how can you give in, right? And so, but little by little, the Rebbe, by means of educating everybody, not to be Chabad Hasidim, just to be a Jew, to put on tefillin, you put on tefillin once a year, once a month, once a week, once a day, maybe put a mezuzah on your door, maybe keep Shabbos, first keep a little bit, eventually you'll feel godliness, you want to keep more, keep one Shabbos in a year, two Shabbos, one Shabbos in a month, one Shabbos every week, right? That's enough. One Shabbos a week. That's all you have to keep. Little by little, the Rebbe made this battle, and it's changing the whole face. Although the battle is still good, especially the battle of what is a Jew, right? The Israeli government declared that a Jew is not according to the Torah. A Jew is anyone who wants to. A Reform rabbi can just stamp something, you can pay $50 and become a Jew. Maybe it's $500. Maybe. So we see that the Moshiach, who is the Rebbe, is battling and he's succeeding in many ways, especially in the war of peace. And the victory is, the word for victory also means something eternal. Kashur Megillah Shel Netzach, the eternal one of God. Nun, this means revelation of the 50th gate of understanding. Tzaddik, this is the year, the 90th year of the Rebbe. The Rebbe is 90 years old. He was born in 9 years earlier. Rebbe was born in Tuf Reish Samach base, and this was Tuf Shin Nun base, which is 90 years after the Jewish people. And Chet, this is the revelation of the Moshiach, which is the number 8. Why? Because there's there's a Gemara in Sukkah that says that there's the 8 anointed men, number 8. And it says the lyre, whatever is of the Mashiach will be 8 and the 8 strands. Mizeh, from this, it's understood in the Holy Temple in days of the Mashiach. then this is understood that since that the Shluchim, that all of these emissaries are all standing here, kavar mizman la'achar miloi, and this is even after the time that all these promises have been filled. We see that Jewish people are coming back to Jewish awareness, v'afatzas Torah, and spreading out Torah in Judaism, v'afatzas, and spreading out the ideas of Hasidut, umizman la'achar emsa avoda shlichos, and this is well after the the service of the shlichos that we've done, that we've already finished all of our service. We're not in the middle of our service. We already finished the service of preparing the world, like the previous Rebbe said. Nevertheless, says the Rebbe, everything is already, and we've done everything, and we're spreading out godliness, and the Moshiach is revealed, and the Moshiach, but nevertheless, says the Rebbe, Adayin lo bo b'pol, the redemption is not here. We see that there's a lot of troubles in the world, a lot of troubles, personal troubles by people. And so we have to say, Shadayin Nisha, there must be something that we have to do to make it actually happen. And maybe we can say that in every generation, this is according to what's known, that in every generation, one person is born, and he is from the tribe of Yehuda, that he is fitting to be the Mashiach of that generation. Who says this? This is brought in the Bartanura. It's an explanation of what's called Rabbi Avadia of Bartanura in the Megillat root. Okay, so he explains, this is every generation there has to be one person like that he could be the Mashiach. One person that he's fitting because of his purity, his righteousness, that he could be the one that's going to redeem the Jewish people. And when there reaches the time that he should be revealed, God will reveal himself and tell him. So according to what the previous Rebbe said, Nashid Dorenu, that he is the Shliach of our generation. He is the emissary of God. He is the Mashiach HaYachid. He is the Mashiach of our generation, the previous Rebbe. And he said what? Shekavar Simu, that we've already finished everything. So it's understood that Shematchil Litkayem. Now, of course, you can ask a question. What do you mean? How can the Rebbe say that the previous Rebbe is the Mashiach? The previous Rebbe had passed away. This was 1992, the Rebbe is speaking, and the previous Rebbe passed away in 1950. This is 42 years earlier. So how could he say? So there's one answer is that the Rebbe is saying, number one, Tzaddikim don't really die. And especially the Mashiach, it says he's one of the people that's going to enter into heaven, but he's not going to die. That's number one. Number two, the Rebbe is saying that I'm carrying out the previous Rebbe's leadership. In any case, however it is, the Rebbe is declaring that the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe is the Mashiach, and the Rebbe is declaring that he is just an extension of the previous Rebbe. And what did he say? We finished everything. So it's understood. Shematchil litkayem. So if so, it must be that there's beginning. Now you have to remember, the Rebbe said this was, 30 years ago. The Rebbe said, Shalach na bi'ati shalach, that already the emissary, the messenger of God, the shliach of God, that Moses requested back there in the burning bush, that it's happening. Hashlichos, namely the work, the representative work of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. It's happening. So now we can understand that the only thing that is lacking in our generation is we just have to be ready. We have to accept the face of the Mashiach actually. In order that we can actually receive this shlichus and to take the Jewish people out of the exile. Dvar zeh, this Omed B'Hadkasha, especially stressed on this parsha, this Torah portion that we're reading of Chayei Sorah, that we're making this Kenes HaShluchim, the Shluchim the convention, Shabbat, that we are reading in this week's Torah portion about the emissary, the representative, that Abraham sent Eliezer, he was the representative, to find a bride so that Yitzchak can, for Yitzchak, namely Rivka, that Yitzchak and Rivka could get married. Shazen noten koch, this, when we read this in the Torah, and the Torah is eternal, and the Torah is for us, it gives us power on all of our thing of shlichus, of being a representative, and especially the main shlichus and the completing of our only real shlichus, of the reason that we're here, the reason that the Shluchim are here, the reason we're gathered, the reason for Chabad is to bring the Moshiach. But in addition to this, this is what's called also, this is the last Shabbat of the month of Kislev, of the month of Cheshvan, and we're blessing the month of Kislev. Now, the month of Kislev, this is the month of Geula, the month of redemption. This is the month when the Torah was given, the inner Torah. Why the inner Torah? We'll talk about this later, but this is the month that the first Rebbe of Chabad, that he began the whole Chabad movement, he was put into prison by his enemies. He was given over to the Russians and to the Tsar, and the threat of death was hanging over his head, punishment of death. He was put in as a traitor to the country, which the punishment was death. And miraculously, 53 days later, he was released. That was Yud Tet Kislev, that like right in the middle of the month of Kislev, right before Chanukah. This is the month when that happened. So the first Rebbe of Chabad realized that this was a sign from above that he should start really spreading out the ideas of Chabad. He had already written the book, the Tanya, but he really started explaining it in great long length afterwards. That's these books that we're learning now of Torah Ora and Likkutei Torah. That's the third month. The regular Torah was given on Mount Sinai in the third month after the Jews got out of Egypt. First month is Nisan. And that's the third month. The inside of the Torah was also given the third month of the solar year after Rosh Hashanah. The third month in the winter months. And this corresponds to the third month in the summer months when we got the Torah, Sivan. On the month of Sivan, we received the revealed Torah. On the third month in the winter, we received the hidden Torah. That's Yud Tet Kislev. And to add on that the rain, now we're in the rain months. In Israel, the winter is the rain, right? In America, there can be rain all the whole year. But in Israel, it only rains in the winter. There's no rain in the summer. What is winter? Winter is the time of rain. Rain is attached to Mashiach. Rain really comes from below to above. Rain doesn't come from above. Where does rain come from? Rain originates from evaporation from the ground. It says, Eid ya'aleh min ha'oretz. Evaporation, a mist came up, that specifically from the earth. That's this aspect of Ban we said before. That's Rivka. A soul in a body that comes from physicality, and the physicality then it became spiritual. He's talking about the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. Previous Lubavitcher Rebbe was a person, a physical person in the world. He became what he called spiritual. That's Yesod Avir, Yesod Dak Bioter, spiritual, so we can't feel it. That came up above. Od Yoter, that's the idea of Mashiach. And that's when the blessing we make for the rain, we talk about the raising of the dead, the becoming of the Mashiach. L'mayla mi ruach Elokim rachefes ala ha'adama. This is even higher than what was said in the beginning of creation, that the Spirit of God was hovering on the water. That was the Spirit of the Mashiach. That was from the beginning. Now we're talking about a higher thing, that true rain starts from the ground, and the ground evaporates, becomes spiritual, if you want to call it, and then it comes down rain. So Mashiach is like the rain that first of all, he was a person in the world, and then he becomes spiritualized, and then he comes back to the world again. Since the Naseh Hatachia, because the raising of the dead will be Betor, who's the Mashiach going to be in the raising of the dead? The soul of the previous Rebbe, but Paul Mamish, a soul and a body. That's like rain. Not like a Ruach Merachefes Alavan, not like it was in the beginning of creation when the Mashiach was just a spirit on the water. It'll be a physical person that comes from the spirit. That's going to be the previous Rebbe. And he's going to do all the things Mashiach is supposed to do, return true Jewish identity, return the Jewish people to the land of Israel, build the Holy Temple. He's going to build the Holy Temple first. Physical. The whole thing is going to be physical. And it's going to be like the rain. Now we're in the rainy season. This is when the inner Torah was given. The month of Kislev, Chassidut. And the whole purpose of Chassidut is to make this rain, to make the Mashiach come, to light up the darkness. That's the job of the Shluchim. What's missing? We just have to be ready for this amazing surprise. But meanwhile, the way to prepare ourselves is to learn Chassidut. That's what we're doing in the morning. We're trying. Maybe it's not our best, but we're certainly trying. So, there's too much trouble in the world, too much frustration and difficulties and tears and unanswered prayers. We need Mashiach now. God willing, we'll finish this tomorrow. We'll finish these last two paragraphs tomorrow. Okay, maybe we'll go over this list, this big one again tomorrow. And meanwhile, let's do Dvar, the Hayom Yom. Hayom Yom. The Tzemach Tzedek was arrested, third Rebbe of Chabad. He was arrested by the Tsar 22 times. He was arrested 22 times during the rabbinical conference in Petersburg 1 year, in the same year. It's like the policeman catches you for speeding and he gives you a ticket and a big warning, and then 2 hours later he catches you again for speeding 22 times. But here it wasn't for speeding. Here it was opposing the demands of the government regarding changes in education. The minister in charge confronted him. Is this not rebellion? You're rebelling against the government. The punishment is death. The Tzemach Tzedek, his name was Menachem Mendel, but that's the gematria of Tzemach Tzedek. The Tzemach Tzedek, the third Rebbe of Chabad, he said, one who rebels against the government can be punishable by death, but only physical death. A person who rebels against God, he's punishable by spiritual, the death of the soul. Which one is worse? Right? To even make the slightest hint at going against the creator of the universe, that scares me much more than to go against you. And that's what it was. And in the end, he won. He got what he wanted, right? They didn't make these decrees. I mean, such incredible, that's what's called the stiff-necked people. The Jewish people are stiff-necked people. They're for good. If they want to, they can use it for really good. And here's an example of stubbornness, of holiness. Have a good day with Mashiach. Now, God willing, at 3:00, we'll do the Haftorah of this week and a Sikha of the Rebbe. The Haftorah will be on the YouTube, because it'll be from last year, the explanation. And we'll learn a Sikha of the Rebbe like every day. Shalom uvracha, Mashiach, now. 1 minute. How do we do this?